Doug Darby from?
Today from McKinney, Texas, just north of Dallas.
Fantastic. Okay, so this intro is going to be like PG-13. Good. So tell us just a little bit about yourself, where you came from, what led you to where you are today.
Wow, that's way back. Montana boy, born and raised. Left there after I graduated from college. Went to work in the coal mines.
Coal mines?
In the coal mines. I worked in the coal mines for 44 years in the coal mines. And retired in 2010. Best day of my life. And I did a little bit of RC. I ran RC cars. I raced RC cars pretty competitively for about 6 or 7 years.
Did that start at retirement? Or
no, that started back in the late 90s.
So I see your Roar membership here.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's really what I bought the trailer for. Back in 2002 when I bought the trailer, because we were racing every 3 weeks at someplace else in Texas, whether it was San Antonio or Austin or Dallas or Houston.
Right.
And an RC car race, you're out on the track for 2 days at a time. Sure. So me and a couple of guys, I bought the trailer and we did it together. And then I got tired of the competition part. I mean, everything's a secret, and
sure,
it's just not a lot of camaraderie and having fun. And so at one RC car race, I went into the hobby store that I used to hang out in a hobby town in San Antonio, and this guy's flying around in this little coax blade helicopter. And I said, if I could fly one of those, I'd buy one. And he said, oh, come over here, you can fly it, it's real easy. So I went over there, flew it, bought that. Next thing you know, found Aero Hobbies in Louisville.
Our friend Andy.
And the rest is pretty well toast after that. Sold me my first T-Rex 450 V2, and then I got a 600 electric back in the days when one 6S pack was $300.
The old Thunder Power, just black heat shrink little label on it?
Exactly.
Yep,
and for some reason, I was always reading the forums about gassers. I don't know why, but for some reason I spent all my time just listening to these guys talk about gas-powered helicopters. And one day in Andy's store I said, someday I'm going to have a gas-powered helicopter. Andy says, I've got one right here. And he goes in the back and pulls out a Century Predator, virtually built.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Top dollar stuff that some guy had him build and then reneged on it and walked away. And so Andy sold it to me for a song and a dance and a lot of cash. And it just went downhill from there. The gas bug bit me, and so I flew that for a while and then realized that it's a little bit on the archaic side. So then I did a Century conversion on a T-Rex 700, and I flew that for a lot of years. And then I did a Helibug in there, and flew that some. And then followed the Leviathan designs on the Goblins and picked up one of those early on, and have been have not found anything that flies any better. I've done so much motor work with Al Gament of TRM that he and I are pretty close, and I've tested a lot of stuff for him. And it's not me testing it, it's so much as I've got good friends that are good pilots and we can really test it. Mitch Pricer did a lot of work with me. Tim Jones, Tim loves doing it. You've probably been in Phoenix, and Kyle Dahl flew it one day, and Kyle Stacy flew it, and I mean, it's just, it's just fun to make power out of something that people don't expect.
Well, right, and this, a lot of the events I've been to, I mean, nobody can rip it like Tim Jones. I mean, he can flat out rip a helicopter.
Right.
And seeing Doug's creation, just out there, just getting after it, man, that is great.
So anyway, that's kind of the story, and I was fortunate enough to be invited to join the B team a couple of years ago when you guys started. It was I had already bought my radio because I thought it was going to be such a good deal, and believe me, it was the dilemma was waiting for the bailout, because that was the issue for me, being a not very good pilot. I was always looking for that little bit of a crutch. And so when they finally announced the bailout was coming, that's it, I'm in. And I've not looked back. I mean, it's, I can't, at the shop I still set up a lot of V-bars for guys that are on 5.3 and the old silver lines and do stuff like that, but it's like going back in time. It's like I can't, I like the new Neos because I carry my own receiver with my patch cable, and I basically plug it into the new Neo for their spectrum, and I program it with my radio, and we bind their satellites to it, and they go, how can that be? I said, trust me, it'll work. And it works like a charm.
Well, and anyone that's watching also, you have to know that Doug worked with Reiner a lot on making sure that your V-bar control works well with the nitros, with the gassers. You guys worked a long time.
We did, and it was hard for him because he didn't have a gas-powered helicopter at the time, and so I was transmitting data, showing him what it would do and wouldn't do, and he was coming up with fixes and just tweaks on the nitro governor to make it work with a different kind of carburetor. That's all it took. And it really, and then he ended up with got a gasser that he worked with over there, and he developed he gave me a couple of special menus, that at least one special menu for the nitro governor tubing that I still love today. I almost wish they'd make it a standard menu for the nitro, but they haven't decided. I don't think Uli wants to do that yet. But anyway, just having that contact back and forth, and yeah, there's a little bit of language barrier that you have to learn to get through, and maybe have to ask a question two or three times to make sure you're clear. But with the ability to transmit data, vlog files, vibration files, I mean, all those files, and then of course with YouTube now you can take a short video of what it's actually doing. But yeah, their support staff is second to none, just absolutely. And you know, the other part of it is Mikado USA being able to send stuff to them and have it get fixed when they need it fixed, and it's just a really, really, really good relationship. I really enjoy it.
Well, you're a great asset, for sure. Tell us, how did you get the title of the Wednesday guy?
Wednesday guy.
Wednesday guy.
Wednesday guy. Back about a year after I retired, I had a little bit of extra time, and so I decided I would go maybe look for a job, some part-time job, and I happened to go by a hobby town over by my house, and they had a big sign, RC expert wanted, apply within. So I went in the store and I talked to the owner and I filled out an application and got an interview. It was my first job application and interview in 45 years, okay? Because I had done one before and got that job, worked 45 years, and now I was doing another. But anyway, so he wanted me to go to work at Hobbytown, offered me a job right away. Money's not a big issue. I planned well for retirement, but I just wanted to keep busy and help people. You know, a lot of people would help me. I was going to help people too. But he wanted me to work 3-4 days a week. And I told him, I said, look, I just got done working 6 days a week for 40 years. I ain't going to go back to 3 or 4 days a week, maybe 1 or 2. Oh, I don't know. I need more than that. So that week, that Saturday, I was over at Aero Hobbies. I'm there every Saturday afternoon. It's like my every week fun fly. I go in there and we hang out and tell stories about each other and make stuff up. So anyway, and Andy heard me telling Jim Brock, one of the other volunteer employees at the store, about how I'd done this job interview. Andy, the owner, turns to me and he says, well, do you want to work? Do you want to work at the store? I said, well, yeah, I'd like to stay in the hobby and help out. And he said, well, and at that time, Aero Hobbies was closed on Wednesdays. That was the day that Andy took off, Wednesdays, and the store was closed. So he says, I'll tell you what, you come in and you can run the store on Wednesdays. I'll open up, and he said, we won't have many customers, but so you'll be all right. And I said, okay, we can do that. So I did about a 3-week training program and started working Wednesdays, and hence the next thing you know, I got the name tags that says Wednesday guy. Because we had Sunday guy, we had Wednesday guy, and we had Saturday guy, which was Jim, and then we had the PSUG, PSUG, and that's the putting stuff away guy. that came in for the afternoon for a couple hours to help hang stuff up. So that's the term Wednesday guy.
So this is part 2. You want to show us around the trailer?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. We start with something that me as a pilot need a lot of. Most guys don't need a lot of.
Toilet paper?
But you gotta have parts. You gotta have parts. Parts is parts. You gotta have parts. I'm so sorry there's not a lot of Mikado parts in there. I feel very bad. So anyway, you gotta have parts to keep everything flying. And what do we got in here? Ah yes, more parts. Canopies, booms. Ah yes, the golden box. The secret golden box. Oh yes. This is highly sought after in the gasser world. Pipes. Horsepower in the box right here. This is the 6 horsepower bolt-on pipe. This is the 4 horsepower bolt-on pipe. Ways to tune the pipes based on weather. All the components. So that's the secret gasser pipe tuning box.
Oh man.
Carb parts, engine parts, OS engine parts for my little OS 570 gasser beta version that we're working on. And you gotta have heli storage. This is high tech Home Depot, $10 wire rack bolted to wall. Most important asset though, how do you keep tail fins from beating the bejesus out of your trailer? Horse stall mat, 1/4-inch horse stall mat, bolted right to the thing, works like a charm. And then have to have a place to work, so this is the fold-up moduline pit table, so I can fold it up so we can still get Mama's car in if we decide to take her car.
And you have a car that actually fits in here, don't you?
Yeah, we have had a couple. Her Z3 was the one we worked perfectly, and we've had her Jaguar in there. It's a little bit tighter. And then this is the latest one that really works good, is the moduline pit cart. Basically out of NHRA. I just had them cut it down to a smaller one, all aluminum. And then, yes, here we is, the greatness that is the Neo case. All the spare Neos and broken Neos, but antenna wires I've salvaged off of them. So, and you got to have bigger tools, and then you got to have a few nuts and bolts and some batteries and Dremel stuff. And then you get into servos, and you get into connectors, and you get into servo horns, and all of that sort of stuff. And then you get to the big tools, and you got to have the high-speed heat gun so you can pull the cylinders out of motors, and the drill drivers, and all the chargers for them, and the drills, and then all the extra stuff.
So if you just get bored at Urchin one day, you can just rewire the entire trailer.
I could.
Okay. All right. I like that.
And then this is not a cabinet. This is a sound enclosure for the generator, so that you can't hear my generator running from the outside. And then just chargers and stuff. This is kind of my field toolbox, but it's got the Tim Jones version in the bottom, which is all my machine tools, all my hand machine tools, taps, dies, pullers, files, so we can fix little stripped out screws and things like that whenever we need to. There's been trips where I've taken my 8-axis, I've got a small Shoreline mill, and I'll bring it along. Matter of fact, in the old Whiplash days, we were bending bolts, Jesus bolts. I had to drill out the main shafts and put 5mm in for them. And then this is also just storage, box of blades, more big stuff up there. And then we have more storage, not much in it this time. And then we get to the critical stuff.
Is this the Jamie and Ben special? Oh no, this is the Rusty. The Rusty Haggard.
Yeah, and this is Doug's stash.
Okay.
And this actually belongs to, I shouldn't probably say, but Nick Maxwell. This is from He bought this and left it in my trailer because we were going to taste it one evening. And
because you guys are testers. I mean, you test stuff, right?
Yeah, we have to test stuff.
I mean,
right?
those are beta version
But
helicopters.
Nick, if you ever see this, just so you see, the seal is not broken. The seal is not broken. So, Urcha or maybe some other location. And I have to tell you also, there's not a drop of this consumed when anyone's flying. Not a drop.
Never.
So you see me drinking it, it's because I'm watching at that point in time.
Yes, sir.
So, just to be perfectly clear.
Now, typically, if I see you at an event, you also have a very nice coffee maker.
Oh yes,
Nespresso?
unfortunately the Nespresso machine got left in the shop. I forgot the Nespresso machine. And we generally, occasionally, one of the guys brings along, or in the trailer, we have a margarita machine that we bring once in a while.
Now, this is a Tesla hat.
Tesla hat,
And
PP hat.
Just so you know that the coal power.
Works like a charm. I charge that car with coal-fired energy every day, and I love it.
Good
and
job.
It's dirt cheap compared to that nasty old wind power that kills all those birds.
See?
So,
I love this.
spare tire down here, hidden away in here. Also, if you were decided to run contraband, you could hide it in there.
Okay. If you, yeah.
Right, but I have to have a spare tire in there because I go through a lot of freaking
Hopefully
tires.
none on your way back.
I hope so too. My wife and I are absolute pit experts. I have an electric impact. And then last year I found even the electric impact didn't work. So at Urcha, we bought the breaker bar. There's not a lug nut that I cannot break loose without this breaker bar. So I have the breaker bar.
Okay, let's switch to the. That was the family friendly part of the little thing. I see this guy right here in the red.
The
Okay.
infamous John Johnson, aka Pinion,
Yeah.
the old fart himself.
So
He can hardly function without me to tell him what to do. He saw my trailer, so he had to go out and buy a trailer, just like mine. I had to tell him
noticed
how to fit it, how to outfit it, what to put in it, everything, because he can't do anything on his own.
because you walk in this trailer and you walk in his, and it looks
Very similar.
very similar.
'Cause
I'm not gonna say copycat, but
no, that's okay. You're right.
it's very similar.
Yeah, very similar, and he happens to come across the same 250 diesel pickup after he rode in mine. We had to upgrade pickup trucks. And then after I rode in his, I had to go upgrade my pickup truck.
Right.
So we have this thing that we cost each other a lot of money. And this toolbox right here was John's word. He said, you have to have one of these. And so I looked at it and said, yes, I'm going to order us two. And he said, no, I can't afford one, but you need one. So that's a John pressured item. So, but the coup d'etat was the Tesla. I bought the Tesla, gave him a ride. 4 months later, he's buying one. So I got back at him with the Tesla. So.
I love it. Is there any more deficiencies, war stories we can tell about John, or Rusty? We can talk about tell stories about Rusty.
We could,
because Rusty's not here.
I know, but I hate to talk about Rusty when he's not here. But John, my favorite story about John was we were headed out to we have several stories about John. We were going to the RC Heli Nation Funfly 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, out in Spokane, Washington. And John said, let's drive out. You and I will drive out. Okay, so we're taking my pickup. We leave his house at noon one day, and we're going to try to get north of Denver before we quit that night. And so we're highballing along. And we're going across from Dalhart, Texas, over into New Mexico.
I grew up in that area. There's nothing out there.
Right.
Except for police officers.
Right. Well, John's driving, and I'm kind of sleeping a little bit, trying to rest. And all of a sudden, the truck flies off a 4-foot embankment in the middle of the road. The bridge deck was under construction. There were no cones, and it wasn't 4 foot. It was 2.5-foot drop straight off, and the truck flew off, and we're bouncing around in the truck and flying around, and what's going on? And so we had to actually drive back to look at it and see. Sure enough, it was hot, and there had been a raise in the pavement and a drop under this bridge, and there was about a 26-inch drop right off the pavement. So we called the highway department and said, you should probably get some cones out there. So anyway, then we go to the Funfly.
But, hold on a second, but your Dodge truck
handled
muscled
it
right
well.
through it.
Right, yeah. And I think it's because we were doing about 95. So we had plenty of lift as we went off of it.
Safety
but anyway,
first. I like that.
So then we get to RC Heli Nation, had a blast, great time. Rained like a cow peeing on a flat rock both nights and the evenings, but the days were good. So Saturday night, they do the podcast live from there. I met everybody. It was a good time. We'd both quit flying about 5 o'clock, and we're sitting around, and there's one gentleman out there that makes a beverage called hot apple pie. And everybody talked about hot apple pie. And so he brought me this little thing in a small cup of hot apple pie, and it was absolutely to die for. And he made it with Everclear and apples and cinnamon and I don't know whatever else, but it was just absolutely killer. So before the night was over, my cup kept getting filled up with this beverage called hot apple pie, and the more we drank, the more loose the lips got. And so the next thing you know, the RC Heli Nation guys want to get us on the podcast. So John and I are on the podcast, and we're going back and forth and drinking and going back and forth. Somebody's night flying. We don't know. We never saw any of it. So it's finally midnight. I have no recollection at all of the truck getting packed. I don't know how everything got in the truck. I have no idea. And I remember going back to the hotel. John's driving. He's in good shape. I am not in good shape. We get to the hotel. It's like 1:35, maybe 1:45. And John says, Doug, I got some bad news. I said, what's the matter, John? Well, I have to fly out tomorrow. I can't drive back with you because I got called in. I got to go to work. He's a pilot, cabin trainer for American Airlines. I said, okay, what time do you leave? He said, well, I leave it. I got to be there at like 4:45. I said, oh, no problem. We'll get up about noon, and I'll get you there by 4:45. He says, no, the other 4:45. And I looked at my watch. I says, you mean like in a few hours? And he says, yeah, in a few hours. So I laid on the bed fully clothed for several hours. Got up, we got in the truck. John drove us to the airport, parked in cell phone parking, had someone giving a ride to the terminal. I slept in the truck from 4:45 till about 7. And I got up at 7 and went to a McDonald's, and I had oatmeal at McDonald's, and then I slept with my head on the table at McDonald's till about 9:30. And then I headed back to Texas. And I just kept on driving, and it ended up, I drove from Spokane Airport to my house in McKinney in 31 hours. And it was quite an adventure along the way. I had a discussion with the Montana Highway Patrol, someplace the other side of Butte. And but they're cool. I mean, it's like $5, and they take PayPal. And you just PayPal him the number. He looks at it and says, got it, here you go, see you later. So nice. That was cool. So then
you could do that all day long.
Right, you could do that all day long. And the second time I got stopped by the Montana police on the other border, it was $10 this time because he could see I'd been stopped like hours earlier. So that one was $10 PayPal. So, and I'm still hopeful that they're not going to be in my driver's record because they're in Montana.
Right.
So then I'm in Wyoming. It's 11 o'clock. No, it's not 11. It's 10 o'clock at night, just about dark in Wyoming. And I'm in the zone. You know, I get in the zone, and I'm driving down the road in the zone. I'm in the passing lane, and I'm coming up slowly on this vehicle, and I'm not paying any attention to it. And I get next to the vehicle, and I look over in the vehicle, and it's a Wyoming Highway Patrol. Now I'm doing 92, 94. He's doing 88. So I didn't let off because I knew that'd give it away. So I'm just driving next to him. Pretty soon I look over at him and I smile, and he goes like this. And so I slow down, and then I pointed at the edge of the road, and he shook his head, and he just goes like this. So boom, back to 70 miles an hour, let him go 80. So he let me go. So then I slept outside of in a rest area someplace in Colorado. Got back in the truck a couple hours later, headed into Texas. There were three of us, three cars that we'd been following each other, roaring into Texas at about 80 miles an hour, 85. Sure enough, right over the Texas border, cop comes over the hill. Three of us doing 90 miles an hour. Who does he stop? The truck. So he pulls me over, writes me up. And all I know is he said, "Looks like you've had a busy day." I said, "Sir, I've had a busy day. I'm trying to get home. I'm very tired." He said, "Well, you should slow down." So that's my story. And if all goes well, on about June 25th of this year will be the 3-year anniversary, and all those tickets will be off my driving record. I'm hoping.
That is great.
Right.
That's great. Doug, thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time. They're actually calling our name up there. I just heard that.
Okay.
Yeah.